talk. She also produces science common. She also writes and produces science comedy videos. God, I can't talk. Thank you, Natalia, for being here. Hello, Rhode Island. It's my first time being in your state, and I am honored to be here at your state capitol on the steps of a blue state. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, or there's those single, childless, and loving it folks. You guys deserve a big hug too. And the men out there, thank you for showing your support about something that is beneficial for all of us. 100% of the population benefits when women have reproductive rights. Okay, so I'm in a blue state. It's incredibly blue, but with one giant exception. There in the Constitution, women are denied a right to an abortion. How is this even possible? And I'm hoping, right now I'm clearly preaching to the choir. Everybody here I think is on the same page. Are you all pro-choice? We all deserve a right to choose, yes? Yes? Well, I'm hoping they hear that in there, because in my mind, pro-choice is pro-life. Absolutely. So women make up roughly 51% of the population. We are responsible for 100% of the population being on Earth. We gave birth to people. We matter. Women matter. We're strong. We're fierce. We're compassionate. We're nurturing. We are powerful. A funny little side note, as an anthropologist, I find this really cool. Women, as far as primates go, our closest genetic relative, chimps, bonobos, they advertise when they're ovulating. Human women, we conceal it. It is our little secret. We have that power of knowing when we're going to ovulate. The opposite sex does not. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hurdy actually came up with this great theory that because we are concealing our ovulation, males do not know which kids are theirs. So they're constantly protecting women and their offspring because they don't know if they're theirs or not. How powerful is that? We are powerful. Therefore, why are we not trusted to make decisions with our own bodies?
Hello?
Right? I mean, come on. Like, you trust us to have your children, to raise them. Sometimes we don't raise them. It depends. There's many types of families out there in the world. But you trust us to make these massive decisions, yet for some reason we're not trusted to make choices to either have a child or to terminate a pregnancy. Not only that, but women are not even trusted if they do decide to have children. Something that is not understood or really talked about in the United States enough is that the United States has the highest maternal mortality rate in the first world. That is because oftentimes women are not the priority when giving birth. It's often the fetus that is given the priority. And of course fetuses deserve, priority when we're going through childbirth. However, women's issues are often overlooked. Their pain is dismissed. We're not being trusted. So trust is a huge issue when it comes to reproductive rights. So for me, I feel as though there was an essay that came out years ago called "The Woman Who Cried Pain." And there comes a time when women don't trust our own pain. We don't trust ourselves. And for me, that was something that I didn't know what I would do until I was faced with a choice. So if you are seeing me, if you're hearing me, you are 1 degree of separation from an unapologetic abortion. When I was 22, I thought in my head, I'm pro-choice for everybody else except for myself. I could never. If I got pregnant, I would have to just go through it until it happened. And I remember I was on the birth control pill, thought it could never actually happen to me. And my boyfriend at the time said, no, you're acting weird, which I was probably acting normal because my normal behavior is weird. And so I got, the little take-it-home pregnancy test. That drum likes this story. No. So it was one of those classic moments of you pee on the stick and you're supposed to wait 2 minutes, but nope, it lit up like a Christmas tree, and I threw it across the bathroom, and I knew in that moment what I had to do. I knew I was not ready, and it was, I call it the easiest hard decision I've ever had to make. And I've never really talked about it publicly before, but I feel like it's important because my story is so common. I know plenty of women who have gone on to become mothers, lived happy lives after making a choice to terminate a pregnancy earlier on in their life. I know women that have had families, and then they have decided once they had a pregnancy that happened much later, decide that they weren't ready. They were not ready, but they were not comfortable having more children. Why should their decision be why should anyone stand in their way when making this decision? And what I determined, and I think many women have determined, is it's about trust, it's about control, and it's about taking back our own power. Who here has seen the movie Labyrinth? Anybody? No? Anybody? Okay, so the movie Labyrinth was a childhood favorite, and it's one of those films that I always go back to when I, if I'm having a hard day, I'll turn it on, and it makes me happy. It brings me joy. But one of the common themes is a woman, or a girl, she's about 16 years old, whose son is, or not son, her brother is stolen away by David Bowie, who is, I like to think of him as like a more handsome, yet horrible GOP. Let's just think of him as the GOP. Try to take away her brother and her rights. And so basically she goes through this whole labyrinth, and she finally meets him at the very end. She goes through all his tricks and riddles and all these things, solves everything until the very end. And she's supposed to quote a line from a play that she'd been reading, and she couldn't remember it. And she couldn't remember it until the very last part of the film. And she just looked at him, beautiful David Bowie, horrible GOP in this case, and just said, "You have no power over me. You have no power over me." And it's one of those things that I think a lot of women need to realize that we need to scream it louder, because I feel like right now at this time, my mother, my grandmothers have been fighting this fight for years, but there's a lot of younger women, and many of which are here and represented, but there's a lot of younger women in the generation coming up that don't realize that we cannot get complacent, we cannot get quiet. We need to get louder and louder and say it louder and louder. You have no power over me. They have no power over us. So if you will, I know there's not a lot of us here right now, but if you can say it, you have no power over me. With me, one time. You have no power over me. Because they don't. And once they realize that we're not going to stop, and once we get our reproductive rights, we are going to be equal, and it's going to be an adjustment period. But guess what? Change is coming. Change is now. And since I had my abortion 16 years ago, I have lived lifetimes. I have achieved so much in my personal life, and I hope I've done things to benefit others. I went on to become an anthropologist. I studied monkeys. I traveled through Europe. I became a science communicator. My goal is to promote science literacy throughout the United States, to hopefully influence policymakers, including the people behind me that hopefully might hear us. In my case, pro-choice is pro-life. It is pro-life. It gives women the ability to live the lives that they want to live, and there's no reason why anybody should stand in our way. So thank you for being here. But one of the things I really want to encourage everyone is, obviously we're happy for the turnout that we do have, but I hope that you guys get more in the future, because it's not a time to be complacent. We need to come out in droves. They need to know that we are not going to stop. We are not going to shut up. We are not going to just go away because we think we're safe. We're not safe until it's written. So pass it. Thank you.